My name is Gillian. I'm a compulsive eater. I weigh and measure 3 meals a day from the grey sheet. I write those meals down. I commit them to my sponsor. Abstinence is the most important thing in my life today. And my abstinence date is 4th of May 2018. And yeah, I don't know why, but I felt quite nervous coming on this meeting. And actually, when I first had 90 days, I was the secretary on this meeting. That was the first service position I ever took on in a grey sheet, and it was really, really good for me. It was really good at reinforcing um, the strength of this message, and just throwing myself into the getting to know people. It was just really good for that. And I'm just saying that in case there's some newcomers on tonight. If they're interested in doing something like that. But yeah, anyway, back to my story. So I've just had my 6th abstinent Christmas, which was wonderful. And I was kind of thinking in the run up to Christmas whether I should kind of like go out and get some more, I don't know, expensive, more sort of like luxurious type of foods. Maybe I should order something on the internet because it's Christmas and change my food around. And when I thought about it, my food is just so absolutely wonderful. It's like having Christmas every day. So why should I change anything? So I didn't bother. And I just had really wonderful meals every day throughout Christmas. And then on the 1st of January is weigh day, and my weight hadn't changed. And that is just such a miracle, because January was always diet time for me, and I always put on a huge amount of weight over Christmas, more weight than I normally would put on for the rest of the year. So that's just a beautiful feeling to have that happen. And it's making me kind of think of, the way it was for me in the past. When I went back to my office after Christmas, there's always a lot of stuff in the office that we don't eat, and it doesn't call me. That's another miracle that it doesn't bother me. But at the moment, it's really heaving with stuff, boxes and boxes of stuff that we don't eat left over from Christmas time. And I was kind of thinking about, in the past before grey sheet, I could, if there was food in the office, that's all I could think about. And I've moved jobs quite a bit over the years, but I just have so many humiliating memories of these kind of scenarios. In quite a few offices I worked in, they had this thing called a charity tuck box, and it was full of the food that we don't eat, and you were to put money in, and somebody came once a week to refill it and take the money for the charity. And that was always something that I couldn't pass by. I couldn't not eat it. And I remember one office where that box sat beside the secretary, and I went up there so many times. On a particular day, this lady, she was a very nice lady, she asked me if I was okay. And I remember a lot of shame around that. But yet I still went back up and bought more stuff probably about half an hour later. What I'm trying to explain is the absolute lack of control I had around food. And, that was the embarrassment, and just no dignity at all. And there were other examples of that. I remember another office I worked in, I thought, how am I going to not buy food during the day? This particular office didn't have a tuck box, but there was it was in this centre of London, so there were a lot of shops around. And I remember taking my bank card and posting it to myself so that I had no access to money for 3 days. And I thought I had like diet food in my flat, and I thought, like, well, okay, I'll make this is going to force me not to overeat. And in the end, about probably an hour into that morning in the office, I went to somebody that I was quite friendly with and told her that I'd lost my purse, and asked her could I borrow some money off her. And again, there was a lot of shame around that. There was a lot of embarrassment. And as soon as my card arrived back, I gave her the money back. But these were not things that were within I don't know how to explain this. If we have a moral compass, or, there are things that we want to, ideals in our life, or, the way that you want to live your life and the type of way you want to present yourself in the world for your own dignity as well, for everybody else. Because of my eating, I could never live up to that. And I thought that my problem was fat. That was what I thought for an awful long time, because I came from big numbers. At my highest weight, I was, I'm just checking the time. Gosh, it's going flying by. At my highest weight, I was 7 stone heavier than I am now. So that would be around about 100 pounds. And I can't figure that out in kilos, sorry, but it was a lot of weight that I was carrying. And I thought that that was what my issue was. And in coming into GreySheet, it wasn't. That was just the byproduct of something much deeper. And yeah, so dieted most of my adult life. And then I moved to London. I'm originally from Ireland. I moved to London in 2003, and OA was everywhere. There were OA meetings everywhere. So I joined OA with some limited success. With regards to controlling my food, it was always white knuckling it. I don't think I ever got to 90 days in Overeaters Anonymous, and it was very difficult to get a sponsor because there were very few people who were abstinent. There was a huge amount of meetings and an awful lot of people attending them, but very, very little abstinence. But what I did see in not GreySheet, OA, was the spiritual aspect of this, which was very, very attractive. And I have a particular memory of going to a meeting in Clapham Common. I don't know if anybody here is familiar with that part of London. I don't think you are, so I don't know why I'm telling you that. But anyway, it was a beautiful old church, and they rented a small little room, and there were about 4 people in this meeting, and somebody had brought candles. And there was just, I remember going into this meeting feeling highly stressed. I'd had a really bad day at work, and my food was not going well. And there was a lot of talk about the spiritual aspect of the program and God. People had different concepts of what that was, and that was okay. And I remember leaving there feeling like a different person. I felt a huge amount of peace, and I didn't overeat that night. That didn't last. I see the spiritual aspect of this as being one of the 3 legs. The other ones are the food plan, and the third one for me is the community. So long story short, I found GreySheet, and that was by accident. I thought I was going into an OA How meeting, and it was actually a GreySheet meeting. That was back in 2008. And I tried it for about a week, and I thought it was virtually impossible to do, and I found the people very strange and intense. But even though I left it, it stayed with me. And over the years, occasionally I would go back to that meeting, and all those same people were sitting there at the same weight. They were all slim. They all said they had been huge before. And I'm not just saying that GreySheet is for overweight people. This is just the perspective I came in with. There are a lot of people who don't need to lose weight in GreySheet, but and they had a sort of a calmness about them, and they were living their best life, and it stuck with me. So that was initially 2008 when I first came into GreySheet, and then in 2018 I came back in, and it stuck. And I think the reason why it stuck was because I found the right sponsor. This is my story. I'm not saying this is what everybody should do, but I found a woman who had been doing this for a very, very long time, and I loved her attitude about it. And she had what I wanted. She had peace and serenity, and she had structure in her life, because the food was making my life crazy. It's not just the food, it seeps out into every area. It affects relationships, work, because of concentration, and anyway, a myriad of different things. But she had just a balance, and she had joy in the GreySheet, and she was just like, at this point she has over 40 years. At that point she was 30 something years, but just, even after that time, the joy was still there, the kind of the gratitude was still there. And she had made very much a life for herself within GreySheet. She had very strong friendships and connections. Thank you, Joel. I see that. And yeah, I just thought this is what I want, and I'm going to do. If she tells me to stand on my head, that's what I'm going to do. But actually, she never asked me to do anything outrageous. She's never been a very difficult sponsor, and she's more of a carrot than a stick. Sorry, I mentioned food. I didn't mean to do that, but yeah, so that has been a very beautiful relationship, and I've watched her go through a lot of different things, and at the moment she's battling cancer for the third time, and doing that abstinently with all the hospital visits that entails. And again, she shows me that it's possible to do this every day, and it's not difficult and it's not a problem. In actual fact, it makes everything better. It doesn't make anything worse, it makes it better. And her medical team have told her that if she hadn't been on GreySheet, she would have been dead years ago. So it saved her life, and she's very grateful for that. But anyway, this is my story, not hers. And so yeah, and I think the other thing that has really worked for me in GreySheet is making friendships and strong connections. And I've very much enjoyed traveling, going to GreySheet roundups in Europe and America. And I've met quite a few of you that I see online here. And I'm looking forward to seeing Anne and Nancy in London this summer. So yeah, and I think I'll leave it there. That's as much as I can say. Thank you.